Ayan Mercer's flight landed 3 hours early. The Dubai conference had wrapped up faster than expected, and instead of waiting at the airport, he decided to surprise Leora. After 2 weeks apart, he craved the warmth of her embrace, the way she'd squeal with delight when he walked through the door unannounced. The October rain painted streaks across the taxi windows as he rehearsed his entrance. Maybe he'd find her curled up with a book in the living room, or dancing in the kitchen to that old jazz playlist she loved. They'd been married for 6 years, together for 9, and despite his frequent travel, their connection had always felt unbreakable. The house stood quiet when he unlocked the front door. No music, no television, just the distant sound of running water upstairs. "Leora?" he called out, setting down his luggage. Silence. He climbed the stairs, loosening his tie. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, steam seeping through the crack. He smiled, imagining her luxurious bubble bath, the vanilla-scented candles she always lit when she wanted to unwind. But as he pushed the door open, the world tilted sideways. Leora sat in the bathtub, water sloshing over the edges. And beside her, partially submerged, was Evan Cross, her sister Nadia's husband. Their faces drained of color simultaneously, shock freezing them in place like built-y statues. Time fractured into surreal fragments. Evan's hand had been resting on Leora's bare thigh beneath the water. Her hair was wet, cascading over shoulders that Ayan had kissed 1,000 times. The intimacy of the scene, the comfortable way they'd been positioned, spoke of familiarity, of this not being the first time. "Ayan!" Leora's voice cracked, water dripping from her lips as she stood abruptly, reaching for a towel. "Don't." The word came out strangled. Ayan took a step back, his mind refusing to process what his eyes confirmed. Evan scrambled out of the tub, grabbing for his scattered clothes on the floor. This isn't," Evan stammered, but the words dissolved into pathetic silence. Ayan's gaze locked onto his wife's face, searching desperately for an explanation that would make this something other than betrayal. But her eyes, those eyes he'd gazed into on their wedding day, held only guilt and shame. The ring on his finger suddenly felt impossibly heavy.
"How long?" Ayan's voice was eerily calm, a quiet devastation more terrifying than rage. Leora clutched the towel around herself, trembling. "Ayan, please, let me explain." "How long?" Evan pulled on his pants, hands shaking. "Look, man, this wasn't supposed to happen. We never meant—" "Answer the fucking question!" The steel in Ayan's tone made them both flinch. 6 months, Leora whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It started 6 months ago." 6 months, Ayan calculated backward, through his business trips to Singapore, through Nadia's birthday party where he'd shaken Evan's hand and called him family, through the anniversary dinner where Leora had worn that red dress and told him she was her everything. All lies. All of it. "It began after that dinner party at Nadia's house," Evan said quietly, finally fully dressed. "You'd left early for that Frankfurt meeting. Leora stayed to help clean up. We just talked about how lonely it gets when you're both always traveling." Ayan remembered that night. He'd kissed Leora goodbye, promising to make it up to her when he returned. She'd smiled and said she understood, that she'd always understood. "Talking turned into texting," Leora said, her voice barely audible. "Then coffee. Then—" She couldn't finish. "Then you fucked him," Ayan supplied the words she couldn't say. "In our bed?" The way she looked away told him everything. "Jesus Christ!" He leaned against the doorframe, legs suddenly unsteady. "Nadia's husband! Your sister's husband!" "We tried to stop," Evan said desperately, "multiple times, but when you're both gone so much, when we're both—" "Don't you dare blame me for this!" Ayan's fury finally broke through the calm. "Don't you dare justify this with my work schedule!" Leora stepped toward him, hand outstretched. Ayan, I love you. I know that sounds insane right now, but I do. This thing with Evan, it was just physical. It didn't mean anything. It meant our marriage vows didn't mean anything. He stepped back from her touch like it burned. 6 months of looking me in the eye and lying. 6 months of family dinners where you and him sat across from each other pretending, while Nadia— His voice broke thinking of Leora's sister, pregnant with their second child, believing her marriage was solid. Does she know? Their silence answered.
Ayan walked to the bedroom, each step feeling like wading through concrete. Behind him, he heard Leora following, still wrapped in that towel, water leaving a trail on the hardwood floors he'd helped her pick out when they bought this house. Their house, their life, all of it contaminated now. "What are you doing?" Leora asked as he pulled his suitcase from the closet, the one he'd just unpacked an hour ago at the hotel, thinking he'd be home soon. "What does it look like?" He began throwing clothes inside with mechanical precision. "Ayan, please, we can work through this. Couples survive affairs. We can go to therapy. We can—" "You fucked your sister's husband in our home." He turned to face her, and she recoiled from the emptiness in his eyes. "For 6 months. You looked at me every time I came home and pretended everything was perfect. You made love to me." His voice cracked. "You made love to me 3 weeks ago before I left, and the whole time you were thinking about him." "That's not true. I wasn't. I separate the two things. What Evan and I have is—" "Have?" Ayan's laugh was bitter. "Present tense? You're still planning to continue this?" Leora shook her head frantically. "No, God no, that's not what I meant. Ayan, it's over. The moment you walked through that door, it was over. How convenient that I had to catch you for it to end." Downstairs, they heard the front door close, Evan leaving, the coward escaping before facing the full consequences. Ayan wondered briefly if he was going home to Nadia, to their children, if he'd confess or add another lie to the pile. Leora sat on the bed, shoulders shaking with sobs. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I hate myself for this. I hate what I've done to you, to us." Ayan zipped the suitcase closed. The wedding photo on the nightstand caught his eye. Young, hopeful versions of themselves, believing in forever. He picked it up, studied it for a long moment, then set it face down. "I gave you everything," he said quietly. "My trust, my heart, my future. And you threw it away for what? A few stolen afternoons? Some excitement?" "It wasn't like that." Leora stood, moving toward him. "I was lonely, Ayan. You're always gone. I'd come home to an empty house night after night, and Evan, he was there. He listened. He made me feel—" "Stop." Ayan held up his hand. "I don't want to hear how another man made my wife feel." The silence stretched between them, filled with all the words that could never undo what had been done. Ayan pulled off his wedding ring, the platinum band Leora had slipped on his finger while promising forever. It had left a tan line after 6 years, a pale circle marking where his marriage had lived. "I was going to surprise you tonight," he said, voice hollow. "I stopped at that bakery you love, got your favorite pastries. They're in my bag downstairs." He set the ring on the dresser with a soft click. "I was going to run you a bath, pour you wine, and just hold you because I missed you so damn much." Leora's face crumpled. "Ayan. Instead, I found you in that bath with him, his hands on you, that look on your face like I was the intruder in my own home." "You're not. This is your home, our home." "Was our home," he corrected. "You made it something else when you brought him here." "Where will you go?" Her question came out small, defeated. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." "Since when?" The bitterness erupted. Since when do I matter to you, Leora? Because it clearly wasn't when you were texting him while I was calling you from hotel rooms telling you I loved you. It wasn't when you were canceling our video calls because you were too tired, probably from fucking him. It wasn't at your sister's baby shower last month when I held your hand and you smiled at me like everything was fine. Each word was a knife, but he couldn't stop. 6 months of deception demanded accounting. I would have understood lonely. If you'd told me you needed me home more, I would have changed my schedule. I would have quit that job. I would have done anything except watch you lie to my face every single day. Leora approached him, and this time he didn't move away. She placed her hand on his chest, over his heart. I love you. I know I've destroyed your ability to believe that, but it's true. This thing with Evan, it was a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. Ayan's voice dropped to a whisper. A mistake is snapping at someone when you're stressed. This, he gestured between them, this was a choice. You chose him repeatedly for 6 months. You chose to betray me, to betray Nadia, to betray everything we built. Then let me choose you now. Leora's desperation was palpable. Let me spend the rest of my life making this right. Ayan looked at her, really looked at her, and felt his heart breaking in real time. 3 days passed before Ayan returned to the house. He'd stayed at a hotel, ignoring Leora's calls and texts, trying to breathe through the suffocating weight of betrayal. His lawyer had already drafted separation papers. His brother had already offered his spare room. But he needed closure. He needed to look Leora in the eye one more time and walk away with dignity intact. She answered the door looking like she hadn't slept. Good, he thought viciously. She shouldn't sleep soundly after what she'd done. I came for the rest of my things, he said. Ayan, please, can we just talk? Really talk? There's nothing left to say. There's everything to say. Leora blocked his path. I'll tell Nadia. I'll end all contact with Evan. I'll do whatever it takes. Therapy, counseling, anything you need. I need to not be married to someone who's capable of this. He moved past her, heading upstairs. She followed, words tumbling out in desperate succession. We had something real. 6 years of marriage, 9 years together. That can't all be erased by one mistake. It's not erased. Ayan began packing books from his study. It's tainted. Every memory I have of us is now poisoned with the question, which version of you was real? The woman who loved me, or the woman who lied to me for half a year? Both. I'm both. Leora's honesty was brutal. I'm the woman who loves you more than anything, and I'm also the woman who made a terrible, selfish choice. People are complicated, Ayan. We're not perfect. I never asked for perfect. I asked for faithful. I asked for honest. Those aren't unreasonable expectations in a marriage. You're right. You're absolutely right. She wiped at her tears. I broke our vows. I destroyed your trust. But doesn't 9 years earn me a chance to rebuild it? Ayan set down the box he'd been packing and walked to where she stood. For a moment, Leora's face lit with hope. If you'd come to me 6 months ago, he said softly, and told me you were unhappy, that you felt lonely, that you needed more, I would have moved heaven and earth to fix it. I would have quit my job, sold this house, done whatever it took to make you happy again. You still can. But you didn't come to me. You went to him. And every day after that, you made the choice to keep lying. That's what I can't forgive, Leora. Not the affair itself, as much as that destroys me. It's the months of looking me in the eye and deceiving me. It's the calculation it took to maintain this, to remember which lies you'd told, to keep your stories straight, to smile and kiss me and pretend. He picked up the box again. That level of deception, that's not a mistake. That's a fundamental flaw in what we were. Were? The finality of the word broke her. Ayan, please, I'm begging you, don't give up on us. You gave up on us the first time you kissed him. Ayan headed for the stairs. I'm just accepting what you already decided. As he loaded his car, Leora stood in the doorway, watching the life they'd built fragment into moving boxes and separate futures. The October rain had returned, washing over everything with cold indifference. I'll always love you, she called out as he closed the trunk. That won't change, even if you leave. Ayan looked at her one last time, the woman who'd been his world, now a stranger wearing a familiar face. Then you'll understand, he said quietly, why I can't stay. He drove away without looking back, leaving behind the house, the ring, and the ghost of who they used to be. Some betrayals don't end in reconciliation. Some loves don't survive the truth. And sometimes the hardest lesson is learning that love, even real love, isn't always enough to repair what's been broken beyond recognition. In the rearview mirror, Leora became smaller and smaller until she disappeared entirely, a silhouette of regret standing in the rain, learning too late that some mistakes don't end in redemption, only in the haunting echo of what was irretrievably lost. The end.